She was the perfect daughter, straight A's, volunteering every weekend, working part-time jobs, and dreaming of college, while her younger brother barely passed his classes. He got all the praise and attention. When she got accepted to her dream university, Berkeley, she thought her moment had finally come. Instead, her parents gave her tuition money to buy her brother a luxury sports car. But here's what they didn't know. The quiet girl who never caused problems, who never raised her voice, was about to become the most dangerous person they'd ever underestimated. This is the story of how betrayal became her greatest teacher, and how the invisible daughter learned to make her family see her, whether they wanted to or not. If you enjoyed this powerful story, please subscribe to our channel and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? I was always the quiet one in my family, not because I lacked a voice, but because I discovered early that my voice was consistently overshadowed by my younger brother, Ryan's louder, more attention-grabbing presence. While I maintained straight A's, volunteered regularly, worked part-time jobs, and held dreams of attending college, Ryan was our family's golden boy, the high school quarterback who barely passed his classes, yet received endless praise and admiration. Growing up, I didn't mind much. I believed that through harder work and proving myself, eventually my parents would recognize me, not just as the responsible daughter, but as someone they genuinely took pride in. The defining moment came when I received my acceptance letter from my dream university, Berkeley. I remember my trembling hands, the tears of joy, and the overwhelming feeling that finally, perhaps, I had accomplished something worthy of celebration. I rushed downstairs, breathless with excitement, to share the news. My mother was washing dishes, my father watching a game with Ryan. I got full acceptance to Berkeley, I announced, waiting for their enthusiasm. My mother offered a half smile and returned to her dishes, saying, "That's great, honey." My father barely looked up, muttering, "Berkeley's expensive. Let's talk about it later." That conversation never happened. 3 weeks later, a bright red sports car appeared in our driveway. The exact car Ryan had been requesting for months. It cost more than a year's tuition. My father tossed Ryan the keys, as if it were a movie scene, saying, "Take it easy, champ." Ryan whooped and drove off, treating the world as his playground. I stood frozen, my acceptance letter still on the refrigerator like an afterthought. At dinner, I asked carefully about my tuition. "You said you'd help with it." My mother avoided eye contact while cutting her steak. My father sighed. "Look, honey, we had to make choices. Ryan needs something to start his life too. You're smart. You'll figure it out. Apply for scholarships. Get loans. You're responsible, remember?" Responsible. The word that once made me feel acknowledged now felt like a knife. They had taken money promised to me and given it to Ryan in the form of luxury. Ryan didn't even thank them, acting as if he deserved it. That night, I couldn't sleep, wondering how I became invisible in my own family. I cried silently, not wanting to cause a scene even in pain. But something changed within me that night. The ache transformed into anger, which crystallized into resolve. If they could take something I'd worked years for and hand it to someone who never lifted a finger, perhaps it was time to stop being the quiet, obedient daughter. Time to stop seeking their validation and start teaching them a lesson they'd never forget. So I created a plan, not for revenge initially, just to build my future independently. I secured a job at a local bookstore, took weekend tutoring gigs, applied for grants, wrote countless essays, stayed up until 3 a.m. meeting deadlines. I was constantly exhausted, my eyes burning, but I persisted. I told no one, letting them believe I'd given up on school. Then I overheard my mother on the phone with her sister. "Of course Ryan's our priority. He's our legacy. Mia's she's not the type to make headlines. She'll be fine. She always is. She's smart but not special." I stood outside, invisible again. Not special, just smart. just the backup plan. That's when I realized they hadn't just overlooked me. They never truly believed in me. They made that clear. My plan shifted. If they took something from me carelessly, I would take something back. Not something petty, but something they truly valued, that they never imagined I could take. 3 years later, I walked across the graduation stage in royal blue. My name announced with distinction. Mia Thompson, Bachelor of Arts, summa cum laude. The applause was polite but quiet. None came from my parents, who weren't there. They had no idea about my graduation. The last time we spoke was a year and a half earlier, when my mother called asking for help with Ryan's failed business venture. I said I was too busy. That was the final straw for her. She called me cold and hung up. I wasn't cold. I was finished. Those years had transformed me. I survived on scholarships, part-time jobs, ramen noodles, and pure determination. I worked harder than ever, meeting people who actually saw me, professors who believed in me, friends who asked about me before mentioning my brother. I built a chosen family, one that celebrated me unconditionally. But I hadn't forgotten. Not about the tuition, not about the sports car, not about feeling disposable. While studying and working, I observed carefully. Though I had no interest in returning to that house, I knew exactly what they valued most: their reputation. My parents lived in an affluent, conservative neighborhood where image was everything. They hosted charity galas and wine nights, gossiped about neighbors, and ran a family foundation that existed only for status, not charity. Ryan remained their shining mascot, their trophy they flaunted even as he failed upward. That's when my idea crystallized. I wouldn't just reclaim my dignity. I'd take their perfect image and carefully unravel it. I began an anonymous blog called Daughter Left Behind, sharing stories of others who'd been overlooked, neglected, or betrayed by families. I told my story in chapters disguised as fiction. The daughter whose tuition was sacrificed for her brother's car. Parents calling her not special. The blog gained traction quickly. Readers related, commented, shared their own pain, creating a safe space for the invisible. I never mentioned names. I didn't need to. Many of my parents' neighbors and acquaintances were avid readers who began whispering and connecting details. Then I submitted my story to a major online magazine as part of a resilience essay contest. It went viral, tens of thousands of shares. Podcasts picked it up. Local journalists tried identifying the subjects. While my name wasn't attached, people who knew my parents couldn't help connecting dots. Suddenly, their perfect image developed cracks. They received fewer invitations. People spoke to them differently. Ryan's success was quietly mocked. The foundation was audited and exposed for fund misuse. I hadn't planned that part, but someone tipped the local press. Meanwhile, I secured my dream job as an editorial assistant at a New York publishing house. I moved to another state, signed a lease on a sunlit apartment with creaky floors and big windows, and started an entirely new life. Months later, my mother called. I didn't answer. She called again, leaving a voicemail. Mia, we saw the article. People think it's about us. Your father's been stressed. Can we talk? Please call me. I listened 3 times. She never said she was proud of me. She never apologized. I deleted the message and continued walking past the bookstore near my apartment, past the university library, where I now gave guest lectures, past everything reminding me of how far I'd come. They took my college tuition and gave it to Ryan as if it meant nothing. But ultimately, I took something they never thought they could lose. Their power over me, their carefully crafted identity, their ability to define who I was. I didn't need revenge. I just needed to become everything they never believed I could be. I didn't just win back my future. I owned it. For the first time in my life, that was more than enough. This story serves as a powerful reminder that sometimes the quietest voices can create the loudest impact, and that true validation comes from within ourselves, not from those who refuse to see our worth.